Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on January the 30th. I can't believe it, man. This month has just flown by. January 30th in the year of the Lord, 2026. And as usual, I've got a lot of good information for you. So let's just go ahead and click over here. My Murtech on Rumble. And this is the video that we're going into tonight, episode 1823. My live stream, so let's go ahead and get into that. Let me pause this and close out the live chat. Let's slide down here and click the show more button to expand out the description box. Okay, we've got information from Newsmax, Doug in Exile, Dr. Steve Turley, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do have some shout outs to give from Ty Malloy, just started following my channel. Vesty1 just started following my channel. Polo Mass Flyer just started following my channel. Killer Carl Radio just started following my channel. True Kirby just started following my channel. Guitar Girl just started following my channel. And Tambo just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right, Debbie BS reposted my episode 1822 from last night. Vesty1 commented on my episode 1817. Uncloudy, Katjana, and Susan080 commented on my episode 1822. Debbie BS commented on my extra 605A and 605B. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments and reposting my videos. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I definitely appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. And as a reminder, I have one of those little thumbs up icons right here below the video that you're watching. So if you could tap on that, that would be fantastic. Okay, Newsmax. Greg Kelly exposes the person Alex Pretti really is. Okay, well, let's check this out.
You've seen the new videotape. I played it last night on this show. It was a big deal. This guy, Alex Pretti, not a nice guy, violent and angry, and here he is about to damage government property. See that? He kicked it right after spitting on it. And these guys I think they want to have a talk with him at least, right? But he resists and he gets violent and it's ugly. This is not a nice guy, Alex. Remember, I knew it right from the get-go. You can't make assumptions on this individual because of where he worked or what he did in high school. And that's what they did, right? This is a new piece of footage. We got it since last night. And this shows you just how nasty and mean the guy is. You saw he spit, and I think the door was open, yelling and screaming and cursing. And then he did it again a few days later. What did he say? We were able to figure it out. This man, effing assault me, MFer. He's begging for it. He wants it. He wants to provoke them so they can capture on videotape and get them in trouble. You know, I don't know. There's something, we still don't know who was paying this guy. There's a strong possibility that he was being paid, an operative for some movement. They've been using communication patterns like paramilitary folks. He is not a nice guy, or at least you can't say this anymore. I knew it right out of the gate. But these people, some are still clinging to this idea of Mr. Pretti being so cool.
This is like the perfect guy. Alex Pretti is the guy you would want to date your daughter. The guy you would want your son to grow up to be.
Caring for people was at the core of who he was. He was incapable of causing harm.
He was an American citizen. He had no criminal record. He worked as a nurse. His patients were American veterans. He was an avid outdoorsman, a competitive cyclist, and a licensed gun owner. He played football and baseball in high school. He was a Boy Scout.
So was I, and there are some guys I went to Boy Scout camp with. One of them went to prison. Actually, it doesn't mean anything. How can they be so naive? They're not. They're doing it on purpose. They're deceiving. They think they can deceive us.
Information. Truth is freedom.
Okay, folks.
One of the country's foremost.
It's amazing how
You've seen the new video.
How they definitely try to propagandize us. The kind of guy you would want to date your daughter. Well, maybe your daughter, but not my daughter, that's for sure. And it makes you wonder why people would do this. Okay, you're going up against federal law enforcement officers with weapons, and they can kill you if you get out of line. Who is stupid enough to do that, or gullible enough to be misled by the leadership in Minnesota or Minneapolis? I don't get it. How people can put themselves in a situation like that. Okay, this does come from Newsmax. I am subscribed to the channel. I've given them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And folks, share this out. Maybe we could save someone's life if they see this and think, that's probably not the thing to do. I don't know. All right, let's jump back here and see what Doug in Exile has to say. Is watch the full on-camera meltdown of desperate Chuck Schumer. Okay, well, let's do it. See what he has to say.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be good. I got Chuck Schumer
in front of a microphone at his press meeting.
He ends up revealing everything about the Democrats' plan without being so on the nose about it. It really is just opportunism. They have nothing to run on. But this shows the direction that they're trying to pull over on everyone. Chuck Schumer, welcome to Doug in Exile as we laugh together at Count Chocula. Chuck Schumer.
Thank you to Senators Murray and Hadia for being here. Well, what the American people are seeing right now is not just horrifying. It's a direct result of choices and policies implemented by the Trump administration. The killings of Renee Good and Alex Pretti in Minneapolis, tragic killings seen now by millions and millions of Americans, are horrific and can never be accepted. And it helps importune us to rein in ICE and end the violence.
False conclusion. Who caused those radicals to go and attack ICE agents, to obstruct law and justice? Even if, I feel bad for them because I believe they're true believers, but they didn't have to be out there. Why are they out there? I'm only saying that there's a whole chain of command that we have to have in all of these conversations. Remember, this did not start with the good lady and the pretty guy getting shot. They were inspired by Democrats to go out and fight ICE agents. But that's not the end of the chain of command. Why are the ICE agents there? The ICE agents are there because there's a huge illegal criminal population in Minnesota. That's why you have to ask yourself, why are the ICE agents there? Because of the criminal fraud in Minnesota. Well, why is there so much illegal alien fraud in Minnesota? Well, because they were imported by Democrats and then covered up for in their illegal laws. Remember, it was just 1 month ago that Nick Shirley, exactly 1 month ago, that the headlines were Somali fraud, illegal alien fraud. And now all those headlines are off the newspapers. Now the headlines are Trump administration shooting innocent people. Do you see? The Democrats saw a political problem 1 month ago, and this is them doing something about it. And that's why we can't fall for what Chuck Schumer is trying to get us on, because they don't care about the people. They don't even care about ICE. They don't care about any of it. What they care about is they got caught 1 month ago performing illegal alien fraud at the widest spread in our country's history. That's the news story where they are absolutely dominating the agenda here. And that's why I'm here commenting on it, trying to put us back in focus on what this is all really about.
Under President Trump, Secretary Noam and Stephen Miller ICE has been unleashed without guardrails. They violate constitutional rights all the time, and they're deliberately refusing to coordinate with state and local law enforcement. This is not border security. This is not law and order. This is chaos, created at the top and felt in so many of our neighborhoods.
Wait, Trump is creating chaos. He tried to do this. This is what he wants, is insanity. No, what we want is illegal aliens out of Minnesota, I believe. I think Trump's been clear on that since he first came down the escalator in 2015. So this new agenda that he's trying to plaster on top of what Trump was frankly elected to do, this is just his spin. There's no evidence for it that that's Trump's desire, is to create chaos. If anything, and again, Democrats always accuse Trump of what they actually do. If anything, it's the Democrats that want to use their useful idiots to create chaos. So between Trump and the Democrats, who benefits from the chaos? Democrats do. They want it.
Americans support law enforcement and secure borders, but they do not support a federal agency that routinely operates above the law. They do not support Americans getting killed on their streets and in their neighborhoods. What ICE is doing is state-sanctioned thuggery. It must stop.
You mean like shutting down schools and making people wear masks, that kind of thuggery? You know, this whole messaging that he's bringing up is a distraction. By the way, even illegal aliens are technically a distraction because you can't win an election on just deporting illegal aliens. I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it. We win the election on the economy. So we have to put the headline of how good the economy is going in front of and on top of their tabloid desire to show people getting shot by ICE is what they want to focus on. So I'll give you a demonstration. Look, here's John Solomon, who is very much a faithful Republican, conservative, and MAGA doing his job, and I'm going to help him do his job. Here's John Solomon. This is very simple, a huge, simple win. U.S. steel production surpasses Japan for the first time since 1999 amid tariffs. You see that? How that is a solid piece of irrefutable fact that you can point to. This is very clear, very good. Notice there's nothing titillating about it. It's not violent. It's not meant to make anybody angry. It just tells you a clear fact, good news, irrefutably, that Trump's economy is doing great, and that our steel is surpassing Japan for the first time since 1999. That's a great, helpful factoid. Now we're going to go back to Chuck Schumer on what he thinks the GOP should do to avert a government shutdown. So this is coming next. They're going to try to shut the government down if we don't defund ICE.
She asked me a question in the hall, and I said, come here, so she did.
Leader Schumer, will you accept a separate bill outside of the appropriations bills that would contain some of your demands? And which conversation with the White House specifically on when you're...
The White House has had no specific good concrete ideas in terms of there's two simple things to do to get this done. And we want to get it done, and we want to get it done quickly. Number one, Leader Thune has to separate the Homeland Security bill out from the other five. He can simply put an amendment on the floor to do that. So it's simple to do, and I am quite confident it would pass overwhelmingly. Already I've seen 6 or 7 Republicans say they would vote for it.
So he wants to remove the funding of Homeland Security from the bill. That's pure politics based on today's headlines, and that's not going to fly. He knows that Thune's not going to do that, or we shouldn't do that.
So that's what we should do, and then we should sit down and go and come up with strong proposals to reform ICE and rein in ICE and end the violence.
That means not allow ICE to deport illegals is what that means. So Now you guys see the agenda. They're going to shut down the government and try and pin this on Republicans and say that because you want to fund evil ICE, you're going to they're going to blame it on the Republicans, go, you guys are shutting down the government because you won't do this incredibly reasonable thing to the budget, this continued resolution bill to keep the government open. You guys see the strategy now? You heard it here first. Let me know in the chat below. Does this work? I only want to know, will America blame the Republicans or the Democrats on the shutdown? I'm Doug in.
Okay, I believe that reasonable, sensible, logical Americans will blame the Democrats because they know that the Democrats only want to pork the bill more than it probably already is so that they can fund their illegal aliens with housing and food and daycare centers and shit like that in order to get their votes. Reasonable Americans, we're going to blame the Democrats for shutting the government down because there's a majority of senators that are Republican and they'll vote for it. But unfortunately, it takes a few Democrats to come over and vote for it. Now, if it shuts down, what the hell? I lived through the last one. How about you? I think most Americans lived through the last one. All right, this video does come from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okie dokie, let's jump back here. And I've been chatting a little bit with Foxy Grandma and Lynn Dots. Thank you guys for your input. All right, let's see what Dr. Steve Turley has to say about deranged nurse just threatened federal ICE agents. Then this happened. Well, I hope she got arrested. All right, let's see what
more
happened.
Particularly the nursing profession. Left-wing lunacy, more particularly the nursing profession. Left-wing lunacy has gotten so out of control that we now have, as of this moment, licensed medical professionals publicly advocating poisoning federal agents in their care. And when they get caught, their colleagues don't condemn them. They set up fundraising campaigns to make them the victims. This isn't a dystopian novel. This is a state of radical cultural Marxism, DEI, in 2026. Stick with me at the very end of this video because we're going to discover precisely why the healthcare system that's supposed to heal the sick is instead turning into a left-wing activist training center, and how the radical ideology infecting these institutions might already be infecting the one treating your family right now. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Meet Melinda Crook, a nurse anesthetist who apparently lives in an ideological echo chamber in her workplace. That's because she felt completely comfortable with uploading a number of videos to her TikTok account, encouraging healthcare colleagues to basically poison ICE agents in their care.
I thought of something good. I think it's something weird spot. Sabotage tactic, or at least scare tactic. All the medical providers, grab some syringes with needles on the end. Have them full of saline or succinylcholine, whatever. That will probably be a deterrent. Be safe. Okay, for today's resistance tip, I vote, anybody got any poison ivy, poison oak in their yard? Get some of that up with gloves, obviously. Get it in some water, like a gallon of water. Get the poison ivy oak water, and I'm going to put it into a water gun. Aim for faces, hands. All right, the single ladies where these ICE guys are going have a chance to do something, not without risk, but could help the cause for sure. Get on Tinder, get on Hinge, find these guys.
What cause?
They're an ICE agent. Bring some X-Lax and put it in their drinks. Get them sick. Nobody's gonna die. Just enough to incapacitate them, get them off the street for the next day. Highly easily deniable. You know, you could get sick too. Won't eat there again. I'm just saying. Let's get them where they eat. Somebody's not going to be supporting these guys. Where's the hotel where they eat? Who makes that breakfast? Let's find them.
Now, that is the very definition of a psychopath. There are more videos of her doing that I'm not even showing you here. That was just the tip of the iceberg. That, my friends, is a psychopath. That is the kind of lunacy that left-wing leaders tap into in order to deliberately radicalize people like that. I mean, we talk often on this channel about the work of the Polish psychologist Andrzej Lobachevsky and his study of what's called political ponerology. It's the study of political evil. Poneros is the Greek word for evil, and he studied European leaders for 40 years, particularly European leftist leaders, I should say, particularly European Marxists. And he concluded after 40 years of study that these leftists were all psychopaths. And when psychopaths take over, they inevitably usher in a government that Lobachevsky called a pathocracy, where you have a whole group of psychopaths with borderline personality disorders occupying positions of power and influence. And when they come into power, the entire society goes hysterical. That's leftism in a nutshell. That's Minneapolis in a nutshell. It's a bunch of psychopaths that usher in a pathocracy that turns the entire society hysterical. But the problem here is that this pathocracy isn't limited to assuming seats of government authority. It can involve leadership in the professions and the credentialed class as well. And that is where DEI comes in. I think it's very important for us to understand why the professions, the credentialed class, have gotten so radicalized. Because this nurse obviously isn't alone. And I'm not talking about Alex Pretti. I'm talking, you probably heard about the labor and delivery nurse, Lexi Lawler, at a Boca Raton Regional Hospital. She, too, posted a TikTok video saying that it would bring her great joy to see Caroline Levitt get a 4th-degree tear in giving birth to her baby. Now, if you're not familiar with obstetric medicine, a 4th-degree tear is the worst severe injury a woman can go through with childbirth. I mean, it was absolutely sick. And again, a total and complete violation of the Hippocratic ethical standards that govern the medical industry. But what we have to understand is that this radicalism actually runs directly through what's called the Human Resources Department. If you don't know, back in 2011, President Obama signed Executive Order 13583. It established a coordinated government-wide initiative to promote diversity and inclusion and equity in the federal workforce. So it's basically the birth of DEI, and it brought the force of the federal government on the accredited professions like healthcare. So what Obama basically did is he set up a compliance structure that enacted DEI hiring standards and training standards all throughout the professions. And the key department that functioned as a liaison between the private and public sector was the human resource departments. They functioned as the enforcer, as it were, of imposing DEI standards. Again, not just in hiring, but in the actual training and accreditation of professionals. And what you just saw there was the rotten fruit of what happens when people get radicalized by this stuff. She was not, that nurse that you saw there advocating the poisoning of ICE agents, she was not radicalized by Tim Walz. She was radicalized by some human resource department. Now, unfortunately for her, Melinda Cook, again, this nurse advocating poisoning ICE agents, those videos went viral. And what happened next is going to absolutely make your day.
Okay, he's going into a commercial here, so let me go ahead and get past that.
Right, it should clean out fire. Wonderful. You've been clicking that link below right now. I'm delighted to inform you that that nurse, that anesthetist, has been officially fired. She has been removed from her duties at the Virginia hospital,
right,
at which up until yesterday she had worked. After the videos went viral this week, thanks, by the way, to the wonderful X-account libs of TikTok, VCU Health placed Cook on administrative leave and launched an investigation with VCU Police. Less than 12 hours later, the hospital terminated her employment and confirmed that they had reported her to state authorities. Legal analyst Russ Stone has told local media that prosecutors most certainly could potentially charge Cook with solicitation to commit a felony offense. And she's not alone in her unemployment. That so-called nurse who wished ill on Caroline Levitt, she too has been fired, and her medical license has been stripped.
Yay.
But we need to underscore here that until human resource departments are reined in, this problem is not going to go away. The medical establishment in particular has spent 15 years pushing diversity, equity, inclusion programs, DEI. They push gender ideology into medical schools. They push racial consciousness raising into hospital training. And what we're seeing now are the results. Healthcare workers who've been trained to see the world through a lens of ideological struggle, for whom political enemies aren't just people who they disagree with, they're now existential threats who need to be harmed, poisoned, or destroyed. It's technically known as ideological capture, which refers to when professionals, institutions, or regulatory bodies abandon their core mission, whatever it is, truth-seeking, right, objective expertise, patient's care. They abandon that objective mission in favor of pursuing ideological or political agendas. Recent scholarship defines it as occurring when educated professionals circumvent more democratic processes and codify new regulatory frameworks that consistently and repeatedly marginalize important public values, like, in other words, I'm here to help everybody, in favor of expert class ideological preferences. It's a fancy schmancy way of saying that a number of professionals are using their professions as veneers, as weapons for pushing an ideological agenda. They're disguising themselves as experts when, in point of fact, their expertise has been recruited for political activism. So it's how medical professionals who took an oath to first do no harm seek to do only harm on their political enemies. I mean, you might remember when President Reagan was shot back in, I believe it was in 81. And he was about to go under on the operating table. And the last thing he said to the surgeons before the anesthesia kicked in was, I sure hope you're all Republicans. Now, back then we could laugh at that because our professions had integrity. They had public integrity. A professional, by definition, was one who operated and practiced objectively for the public good, for the public as a whole, irrespective of one's political partisan leanings. What DEI has ultimately infested our professional class with is rabid, radical ideology that tells them that it's their moral duty to resist and, if possible, eliminate racial, bigoted, sexist oppressors. They have an obligation to use their profession as a force to enact social justice. And the end result of that lunacy is the very lunacy, the very psychopathy that we saw on display in those videos. So the good news is that the good guys are cracking down on this. But until we fully crack down on these human resource departments, the infestation of this insanity will continue to be snuck in through the back door.
All right, very good. And yes, I saw there was a movie about Reagan when he got shot, and actually the physician that took care of him in the operating room was a Democrat, and he was interviewed, and he said, yes, I'm a Democrat, but that has nothing to do with this. My job was to save his life, regardless. I mean, hypocritical oath, if you have rapist murderers laying there on the table, it's your responsibility to do your best to save that person's life and let someone else take care of what he did. But as a physician, as a medical person, it's your obligation to do whatever you can for the best interest of the patient that's there in front of you. So these nurses, you definitely called it right, Lynn Dotz. These medical people that do things like that, they're definitely not following their oath. Let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Dr. Steve Turley. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here and close out the live chat again. Slide down here and let's see what Wendy Bell has to say regarding the dominoes start to fall. Okay, and another bit of news today, folks, came out early today, was I guess Don Lemon, things aren't going so well for him. I guess he was actually arrested in his hotel. He was at some event, and the FBI got a hold of him at his hotel. So even though this liberal judge that threw out the charges earlier, that didn't stop them. So I believe Wendy's going to talk a little bit about this. Let's get this started and see what she has to say. Now, I've got this started out at the very beginning because what I do, I drop my extra videos during the day. And normally what I do is then raid some other creators' videos. In the morning, I generally raid like Chicks on the Right, and just before Wendy Bell's radio program comes on, I share a video and then I raid hers, which it allows the people that's watching my videos just to click on a join link and go directly to Wendy Bell. Because I time it just so when my video is finishing, her video starting, or the Chicks on the Right are just starting, or Jonathan Frederick's videos are just starting. But I'm going to start her video off at the beginning, then I'm going to go through the commercials and get up to her Pledge of Allegiance. But I think this was good.
Hey, how's everybody? Murtek rated us again.
Hey.
All right,
Yes,
Murtek, you go ahead. You be you, babe. I'm glad you're here every day. You make me smile, so thank you for that. What's going on, everybody? Brock, how are you?
Me.
What?
Murtag makes you smile every day. I thought it was me.
Right.
Drop liver.
You do. I'm absolutely smiling all the time because of you.
Look at her eyes.
I didn't know that was your job.
You're a horrible liar.
Okay. All right, let's get this up. It's about the 8.5, 9 minute mark.
United States of America.
Here we go.
And to
Enjoy.
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, the dominoes are starting to fall in a very big way. You know, I think we've all been playing our own kind of version of dominoes. We all have our own sets, our own ones laid out. But they're all kind of now lined up and ready to go. And you've got Trump who's been waiting to do it. He's like, hot dog, give it to me right now. And he's tapped it. And it's starting. All this stuff that you and I have known for years, that we've been patiently talking about and we've been vilified for. And people are like, they sound really extreme. Well, how do you like us now? Because it's all coming out. The election garbage. They are so afraid. I don't know what the left is more afraid of, President Trump or Tulsi Gabbard. We're going to talk about that because she was on the ground in Fulton County, Georgia yesterday. And man, did the news people freak out over that. It's almost like they're afraid of what they're going to find. Going back over all the stuff for 2020 and the stuff that the Trump administration is looking for. Everything. We want it all. Load it up. Get it to Quantico. We are going to pay attention. Before I get into all of these details, my son Jack comes into the living room the other night and he says, hey, Mom, Jack's 24. Hey, Mom, I'm going to be going to New York on Friday. And I was like, okay, why? And he's like, well, you know my friend I've been telling you about? And I'm like, yeah, I know your friend that you've been telling me about. He says, well, his sister goes to NYU. And I'm like, oh, does he like the girl? I mean, he's going to visit her? What's he doing? I have no idea. He's like, well, apparently, I got to go get her car. And I said, wait, what? He's like, well, here's the story. So my friend's sister is at NYU. Her grandma gave her a car, knowing that it's hard to get here and there and all these other things going on, was nice enough to give my friend's sister this car. But the sister is allowing her boyfriend to drive it. Right? And she really doesn't want to be driving. She kind of wants to be driven in the car by the boyfriend. And so she had the audacity over the holidays to come home and to say to Graham, hey, Graham, how about you sign over that title to my boyfriend, Rob? And Grandma was like, why would I do that? She's like, well, you know, I don't really drive it all that much. He tends to drive it more than I do. And Grandma was like, absolutely not. I didn't buy the car and ultimately give it to you for Rob to drive it. And, you know, I should probably take it back then. And the daughter was like, or the granddaughter was like, you know, I don't think so, Graham. It's my car. I'm going to take it. I'm going to do whatever I want. So Graham said, oh, the hell you are. Called Jack's friend. And the friend called Jack and said, we're on a recon mission. We're going to go repo a car. Literally, they are flying. And now they're on a plane to LaGuardia, right? They're going to get off at LaGuardia. They're going to go basically knock on the girl's door, Jack's friend's sister. Hi, we need the keys to the car. I don't even know what it is. Grandma wants the car back. Oh my gosh. This is called parenting 101 that none of us have really ever gone for because it's so badass. And we're all like, oh my gosh. So you're going to fly two people to New York for the explicit purpose of getting your car back because your granddaughter doesn't understand what it's like. And oh, by the way, if Rob or whatever the boyfriend's name, if he gets into an accident, he's not covered on the insurance. Of course, daughter didn't think about that. So they're going as the ultimate repo mission to bring the car back to Graham here in Pittsburgh. And you know what? I'm all about it. All about it. Like, how grateful should you be? And then you're going to let your boyfriend, without even a thought, without even being grateful, it seems like, you're going to go and then have the gall to ask Grandma to sign the title of the car over to your boyfriend? What? Are you out of your mind? Yeah, out of your mind. Grandma wasn't. Repo, go. Get it back. Come get it back. And I will, you know, whatever. I'll give you $100. I love that, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly what is going on a much broader scale here in these United States. Donald Trump is repoing all of the ballots, all of the tabulators, all of the machines, all of the logs, all of the video, all of it, all of the signature matching, all of the voter rolls, all of the things that the government's been asking for from Fulton County, Georgia election officials, where, by the way, all of the crazy stuff happened on election night 2020, and you and I have followed this ad nauseum. Donald Trump finally said, you know what, screw you. The title doesn't belong to you. It's mine. It's ours. We're getting it back, and you can sit there and watch it happen. And that is exactly what elections officials did in Fulton County. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it is a thing of magic. Look, we're going to follow the law. We're going to tell you that we thought things were weird. You scoffed at us because you knew they were weird, because you knew you cheated and you couldn't have anybody finding out about it. So you created something on January 6th, a smokescreen that threw hundreds of people away in prison and ruined hundreds of other lives, all for your farce to continue. But there's a time limit, ladies and gentlemen, on suck. It only lasts so long before all of the little threads are pulled out of it. And then the beautiful tapestry of farcical narratives begins to unwind. That is where we are. And name somebody in Donald Trump's cabinet who isn't pulling one of these threads. All of them are doing it. You've got Act Blue now, completely blown out of the water and exposed. And we're going to, in just a few minutes, dig into something that's just come out. This smurfing, this using of random people who have no idea. They're usually in their 70s or 80s. Maybe they've given ones to a Democrat. Their identities have been stolen, and under their names, Millions upon millions upon millions of dollars have flowed from dark money processes outside of this country and sometimes from within through these unsuspecting people to fund all of these campaigns. And you know what's so weird? It's never any of the Republicans. Why don't they get funded? I don't see a bunch of Smurfs going to the re-election campaign of Jim Jordan. I don't see people hot and heavy to give to Steve Scalise. No, all of this is coming out, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll tell you this. When you secure the elections, you eliminate all of that garbage. You make people show identification and proof of citizenship. You make your elections a singular day. And we get back to the way things used to be, where you get the results by the 10 or 11 o'clock news, depending on what part of the country you're in. Now you're talking, but what do the Democrats need, guys? They need bodies. They need bodies and they need money. And the Republicans are unwinding the bodies, sending all of the illegals back home, which obviously we voted for, and the money has run dry. USAID, that got blown out of the water, and now the whole capture of Nicolas Maduro and all of that in Venezuela starts to come into focus. What is it that Nicolas Maduro knows? And what is it that that man wants? He wants freedom, and he will sing like a freaking bird to get it. And all of these people from Venezuela to Serbia to China to Cuba to the halls of Congress, they know, because they're on those threads and they're being yanked. And everything is unraveling. And Donald Trump will yet again be proven right and vindicated. He didn't want that. He just wants to make America great again. And to all of those people out there, that meant unplugging the swamp. It's happened. So when we come back, we've got a lot to go through. It's confusing, and depending on where you are on the spectrum of knowledge about all of this fraud, we're going to start plugging in some pieces. This Eric Coomer guy from Dominion, well, he stepped in a giant turd sandwich, and it ain't getting off his shoes anytime soon. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, let's talk about what the Trump administration wants out of Fulton County. Should make every deep stater nauseous. The details next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Okay, let's get through this commercial break. And I'll tell you, folks, I like the way she talks. I really do. Okay.
Same way I...
Here we go.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. Now, if you're a common sense American, the same way I am, you wonder, how do these terrible people who continually let us down vote for things we don't support? There are not that many dumb Democrats out there voting for Democrat people who are pushing this stuff, are there? And I don't believe the answer is yes, I don't. So how are all these people, these candidates, these Democrats, how do they have such stacked campaign coffers? Well, Gateway Pundit moments ago with a story that just crossed, it's titled A Tale of 82 Smurfs. Massive money laundering fraud in the Democratic Party, showcasing Missouri Congressman Wesley Bell. You guys ever heard that name? Most of you are like, no. Well, then why are people in other states in their 80s giving this guy thousands upon thousands of dollars every week? Because they're not, but the system says they are. Here we go. If I told you that 82 senior citizens that average 75 years of age donated $11,516,000 in 537,000 separate individual donations. Would you believe me? 82 senior citizens. Because you know how savvy people are over the age of, I don't know, even 50. I'm 55. I'm not that savvy. Somebody in their 80s who's going on their phone, honey, I'll be right there. We'll have tea in a minute. I need to make my donation to Congressman Bell. No, said nobody. 82 individuals, $11.5 million in 537,000 donations. Like right there. Do you and I need to continue this conversation, or are we all on the same page? Act Blue is a total money laundering operation, getting dark money in small little nuggets that fly under the radar, sort of like what reminds us of that, Brock? It was almost like the Biden crime family syndicate. What did they do? Oh, we're going to have 20 different shell companies. We're going to have 9 different Bidens, including the grandkids. We're going to have all these different things, and we're going to have small dollar donations to all of these people. So we'll fly under the radar until somebody tunes into the radar and they're like, Houston, we have a problem. And this is a problem. According to the FEC, this group of 82 senior citizens, right? That average, 72 years of age, did exactly that. These donations of more than $500,000 separate times that they were given money. Average $21.41 each. Why? Well, that way, the masters of political money laundering had hoped to stay under the radar. It worked for almost 2 decades. 2 decades! Hey, James O'Keefe, you know why they wanted to find you and kill you in Minnesota? Because you freaking unraveled Act Blue, my man. And we could not be more grateful to you. Well, it was obviously the last few years, investigative reporters, including James O'Keefe and others, have foiled this great conspiracy that is believed to have laundered somewhere over $1 billion in the last 2 decades through Act Blue, with the probable complicity of the FEC. What? I have the list of the 82 people. You want to know who they gave to, ladies and gentlemen? Well, 20 of them gave to Cory Booker. All 20 Smurfs donated to Booker's campaign through Act Blue. All 20. How about 22 Smurfs? They gave money. Again, Smurfs are people who do exist but do not give money like this. Their identities have been stolen for the purpose of making it look like it is their money they're giving. It's not. Mark Kelly, Arizona senator and leader of the Seditious Six. Wow, he got 22 Smurfs donating to him over and over and over again. How about 10 gave to Fani Willis? 10 gave repeatedly to Tim Walz, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. In fact, let me give you all of the recipients just so we know what is added into our recipe of total suck for Democrats today. I see Wesley Bell, Congresswoman. I see Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, Fani Willis, Gretchen Whitmer, the DNC, the DCCC, their big organization, an organization called Progressive Takeover. Oh, Hillary Clinton, she's gotten a lot of money from them. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Mark Kelly, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, Alyssa Slotkin, seditious sexer, if I'm not mistaken, Raphael Warnock, John Ossoff, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar. Oh, Amy, right? John Fetterman, Hakeem Jeffries. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, all of them have been money laundering recipients of these 82 Smurfs. $11.5 million from just 82 senior citizens who have no idea, who didn't give any money, whose identities have been stolen, so that these people who cannot get their own campaign contributions because they suck and nobody wants to give to them, this is how they've been staying in power. Why is it that we're hearing today, ladies and gentlemen, that Tim Walz, even though he swears, I'm getting out of politics, I'm done with this political life, he said. Why would we ever in a million years believe a word that came out of that man's mouth? Now we're hearing that in the dark, deep recesses, of course, of Minnesota, we've got Amy Klobuchar, who's pining away to be the state's next governor. And what will happen when she vacates her seat if she wins that position as governor? She gets to appoint her own senator replacement, right? And who might that person be, do you suppose? I'm going to go with Tim Walz. Anybody? Bueller. It's not like that's what the people of Minnesota would want, but I mean, when was the last time a deep stater gave a rip about you? When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, my friends. So the deep state has, all that's left is the leftists in Minneapolis. Really? Well, I got some details on that. Buckle up. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right.
Geez, Smurfs, this gateway pundit thing is like...
Let me go ahead and pause this, and I'm going to move this up past our commercial break. Do you know what she meant by Bueller? Bueller? There was a movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Let me see if... Hang on a second. Let me see if I can... Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Let me see here. Yeah, and actually what it was is here's the trailer on that. Okay.
It's getting pretty tough coming up with new illnesses.
There he is.
It's a little childish, but then so is high school.
Annie, you're not going to school like this.
Call if you need us.
They bought it. How could I possibly be expected to handle school on a day like this?
Bueller.
Cameron Day. Get dressed
There it
and
is.
come on over.
Bueller.
Bueller has been absent 9.
They're calling attendance at school. Bueller. Of course, he's not there because he skipped school. But anyway, that's Ferris Bueller, and she liked that movie. She saw that movie and liked that movie. So, when she's asking a question like that, and she says Bueller, she doesn't expect an answer because there's not an answer. Okay, let's see what we got going here. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. You know what I think is so interesting about where we are right now, and wherever you are in your knowledge base, I know there are some of you out there who pay attention to this program, and you guys go down some rabbit holes. You're involved in some chats with some people that take things to a whole different dimension. I dabble on the edge of that. Sometimes we'll tip a toe in, right? But by and large, I kind of hang out in the realm of what people are talking about and what they don't want us talking about. And I enjoy that perspective. Instead of going down, I like to go up above and see what everybody else is doing. But depending on where you are knowledge-wise, and Brock was exactly right in the commercial break. He's like, this all had to happen for us to see just how many people are just how compromised, to see how many elements in our federal government, and then you can only imagine what's going on at your state and local level, are complete shams. How you've got duplicitous jobs being done, people not showing up, buildings not being occupied, money being spent, but not going where it needs to go, which is why I say if you're in a Democrat bluescape, hellscape, you're on that hamster wheel because you're like, I'm paying a lot, but I'm not seeing anything. What am I getting? And it's not making sense. It's not supposed to. This is a giant presentation, and it's poorly executed. It's a lousy playbook that worked so many times that the people behind it and the people who are now new actors in it stopped actually honing their craft to sell it. They're lazy. They're sloppy. I mean, for Ilhan Omar, let's just think for 1 second. For Ilhan Omar really to come out with $30 million as a net worth in a year and to not think anybody was going to see it, right? It's ridiculous. For us to believe that a population as remote and as completely different from America and civilization as we see it, as Somalia, for those people to come here and steal billions of dollars, I mean, honest to God, you could not create something more farcical. It's like the laptop, right? It's like what happened at the State Farm Arena with video cameras capturing it. You've seen it. You followed it. You've watched how it was lied about. You've paid attention to the media run interference and spread counter narratives, right? You've watched the truth come out. You've seen them get busted for editing stuff to make you believe something that's not true. And yet, these are the people now who are aghast that the wheels of the bus have fallen off and that these dominoes are falling. There's only so many times you can dip into the well of taxing the rich. Same way as there's only so many times you can blame Donald Trump for your own fraud and immorality. And I think now everybody who is looking at Donald Trump, it's like, man, he's the ultimate whipping boy. I had no idea one guy could be guilty of so much, because the left can never admit when it's been caught. It can never admit when it's wrong. It can never look at you in the eyes and make you feel as though they're telling you the truth. I don't think they know how anymore. And isn't that sad? Sad but corrupt. Hang them all. Hang them all. Pay-per-view stonings, right? You want to raise some money and chip away at the debt? All right, let's go. Everybody gets a rock. Or you get a front row seat in your home. And you can put bets on that guy right there with the big bicep. Who's going to take him out? I swear to you, this is sedition. This is treason. These are hangable offenses. It is disgusting. And Donald Trump told you in 2015, coming down that escalator, I'll fix it. I'll be your warrior. I'll be that person, because I don't think anybody else can do it. See, not only is Donald Trump exposing election malfeasance, fraud, corruption, you put your word that you like best there, here in America, he's exposing it all over the world. Well, what do you think Maduro did in Venezuela? Dude wasn't voted in. He wasn't elected, right? One has to look all around the world and see which machines from these companies that we were using that are connected to all of these various countries, including Serbia and Venezuela and Cuba and China, and fill in the blank here. How many of them have used the same machines? How many of them and their people noticed similar things as we did the night of November 3rd, 2020, or 5th, or whatever it was, when we went to bed with one set of results, down ballot, and woke up with something else, right? I want to read you this. Materials sought in Fulton County FBI warrant. We know what they wanted. We know what they got. They got it all, ladies and gentlemen. All of it. And I can tell you, there is a difficult road ahead for these Fulton County officials. And I want to read you this. So on Wednesday, the FBI executed this search warrant against the Fulton County elections warehouse, if you will, the elections officials there. And also, the likely target of the warrant pertained to reports filed by citizen investigators. Gateway Pundit reported this on Wednesday, whose persistence since the 2020 election was finally acknowledged by federal investigators, right? This is all the January Sixers were trying to do too, ladies and gentlemen. Stop. Listen to us. But see, we don't get listened to. How many times did we have to go out and say something? How many hearings needed to be held? How many signed affidavits needed to be presented as evidence? But I'll tell you what, if Joe Biden hadn't won, allegedly, in 2020, we would know almost nothing. We wouldn't know about all of the origins of COVID, about the deep, dark depths of that nonsense. we wouldn't know about all of these funding apparatuses. We wouldn't know about these dark money people, these deep state hacks who want to destroy America and the other countries who are helping them do it. We wouldn't know any of that. Hell, before I was forced to wear a mask, for heaven's sakes, I was a busy mom of 5, treading water, right? Trying to get my kids through college and those on their way. I wouldn't have been paying attention, and then they made us because we saw something that in my lifetime I haven't seen. I mean, we saw evil. We saw evil. I'll never forget that. And I say it commonly here. Don't you ever forget what they did to us.
Yes.
Don't you ever forget what they put us through. Don't you ever forget the media's role. Not only in covering it up, but instead spreading a ridiculous narrative that people who love their country, who traveled from all over, including Alaska and Hawaii, went to Washington, D.C. on a freezing, dreary January day 5 years ago because they love their country. And they were afraid it was over. And they were trapped and beaten and attacked and killed and accused and ridiculed and arrested and paraded on TV and put on trial. And they were refused information that would have helped them. And they were convicted by tainted jury pools who were given lousy evidence because the system was stacked against them. We would never, ever have known. Maybe Tony Fauci is all that they said. Maybe he is the sexiest man alive, you guys. Because without him and his devious, dark ways, we'd never be here. We'd have no idea. You'd have no idea what Clinton and Obama were a part of. And then they brought up Jeffrey Epstein. They didn't care about the girls. They never did. They don't care about autism. They don't care about obesity. They don't care about rape. They don't care about kids in school. They don't care about kids getting abducted off the street. They don't care about kids getting murdered and thrown off of highway overpasses to be found on rocks below. And they certainly don't stand up when their names are read before a joint session of Congress to applaud grieving parents who never asked for any of this. See, we didn't ask for this. Trump didn't ask for this. But we voted for somebody who doesn't lie to us, who told us he would stand in the gap. And they threw everything they had. And there are very fine men who wouldn't have been able to stand it. Think about how clean he has to be. Because if there was something even remotely nefarious about his business dealings, if there was even a hint that he didn't do things because he was racist or he was discriminatory, that man, for 40 years, we've heard stories of the benevolence of the Trump brand. They had nothing. And so they made it up. But they're so used to getting away with everything They didn't find the best actors. They didn't get the best screenwriters. They didn't hire the best directors. And the media mouthpieces who are supposed to share the stories that you and I are supposed to believe in this grand fabricated reality. Well, we stopped believing them a long time ago. You should be mad. You should be furious. You should want revenge. And revenge is justice. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, Liz Collin, what's more ridiculous, all right? That Tim Walz should fail into the senator's seat, or that Don Lemming shouldn't have been arrested? Oh, I love it for you. Next on the Wendy Bell radio program.
All right, I'm going to go pause it here and move on. Let me show you that this, click on the Rumble link and show you this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I'm following her channel, giving her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And I've mentioned numerous times to you folks, every cloud has a silver lining. And by Donald Trump being cheated out of his second term in 2020, another silver lining is that his vice president at that time, Mike Pence, may very well have been our president now, because he would have been vice president from 2020 to 2024, and he would have run for president. He may very well have been elected. That backstabbing, two-mouthed, two-faced rhino. So that's another silver lining we can take a look at. All right, I want to share some information here from you for 1775 coffee.
Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash.
All single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler.
$170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is.
Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does.
Okay, folks, I've copied the live chats into a comment. I feel they're important here. People that have input their information. Lynn Dots, M41 Coco, Foxy Grandma. Thank you very much for your input. I greatly appreciate that, and make it permanent with this video, because as we all know, the live chats will just kind of evaporate into nothingness when this live stream is over. And let me remind you that these videos that I shared with you tonight are videos that come directly from the producer. I have the links to the videos as well as the links to the producer's channel. I will continue to share Wendy Bell's video in my daily news wrap-up. All right, these videos here that I have shared with you are videos that I've posted on Mertech.com, where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. This is your one-stop shop for information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. Okay, I'd like to share it all with you, but unfortunately I don't have the time to do so. I'm like eight or 9 minutes over right now. I like to keep this at about an hour, but I will be sharing this information in my daily news wrap-up. I've got 25 videos in here. I'm going to start off with a little 47-second video from Dan Bongino, just a little preview of what we're going to get from him starting Monday. And I will be sharing his information too. Then we're going to finish up with Wendy Bell and have some news from news from reasonable people. Now, this was a channel that Uncloudy recommended to me in a comment. So I looked it up, and they got some pretty good information. So I'm going to share one of their videos here. Benny Johnson, McWaters Effect, The Void Darkens, Black Conservative Perspective. I've got some SGT report in here. Great information. I'll get this going for you about 8 or 9:30. So go ahead and take a break, grab a donut and a cup of coffee or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer or a nice glass of wine and some cheese. Then join me back here at 9:30 and we'll get this going. Give me a chance to get my Rumble Studio set up for my next video. And we'll get this going. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later. And may God bless.